This game drives me bleated loony.
Who remembers those classic Looney Tunes characters, Ralph and Sam?
I do. Anybody else? No?
They may not be the most well-known of cartoon comedy duos, but they starred in several memorable cartoons. While they've never been held in as high regard as other Looney Tunes characters, the films in which they starred are solid and witty. Having said that, as much as I like them, the release of a game based entirely on their antics is something of a surprise, and my initial reaction was, a game whose primary objective revolves around stealing sheep couldn't possibly hold my attention for its duration.
How wrong I was! Let's take a look! What the flock?
And moving on swiftly, this game follows Ralph Wolf and his frankly bewildering faith in the Acme Corporation. Throughout, you're required to steal sheep, 1 sheep per level.
Sure sounds like a thrilling experience!
Indeed, on paper, this could not sound more mundane, but this is without a doubt one of the very best games to bear the Looney Tunes brand. Growing up, I personally always preferred Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, but this game is arguably the best for conveying a quintessentially loony aesthetic. It's surprisingly challenging, and requires you to actually think like a cartoon character. Need to cross a gaping chasm with a sheep? Use an elastic band. Need to reach a location out of reach? Use a rocket! But how do we obtain these items, I hear you ask? Just order them from an Acme mailbox and it arrives faster than the Roadrunner! It's a very smart and appealing game, complemented by some appropriately cartoonish squash and stretch animations, and various references to more popular Looney Tunes characters and shorts. Speaking of which, this is, to my knowledge, the closest thing we have to a Roadrunner-themed PlayStation game. Sure, Wile E Coyote and Roadrunner feature in various other Looney Tunes games, and although the Roadrunner shows up infrequently, on these occasions the game captures the look and feel of the classic shorts perfectly, even though this is Ralph Wolf controlling, not the Coyote. Honestly, you blind? They don't even look alike.
Not alike at all.
It's essentially a stealth puzzle game, and we all know how good I am at stealth.
Chickens.
Mrs. Tweedy still haunts my nightmares.
The objective in each level is to sneak 1 sheep from Sam's flock and place it in a circular goal. Oh, and you also need to be in a goal yourself to finish the level. Sounds easy, right? Seriously, as the game progresses, it becomes much more challenging. The game opens with a cutscene inspired by the classic Ralph and Sam shorts. The blocky graphics here are the only letdown, but the animation is smooth enough and the humor is still intact. I always liked the idea that this duo's antagonism was cut short by the fact that it was time to clock out.
Yeah, leave your resentment in the workplace, everybody. I think we can all learn from that. Can't we, Kevin?
Ralph is approached by none other than Daffy Duck, who invites him on the Sheepdog and Wolf show, the objective being to rustle a total of 17 sheep. That's all the sheep from Sam's flock without getting caught. Sounds like a doddle. The training level sees Daffy teach you the basics. In addition to a double jump, you can run really fast. So fast that you can cross small precipices without fear of plummeting to a dusty demise.
I knew you could do it. You'll probably be able to challenge Roadrunner later in the game.
And why would I want to do that? I swear you've got me mistaken for somebody else. Can't think who. I swear to God I look nothing like him.
Anyway, we then arrive at the studio, which cleverly acts as our level select. Each level is accessed by a door. Find a sheep in one level and you unlock the next. And as you do so, the Looney Tunes audience cheers you on. Although I think maybe they're getting a little too hyped over this sheep show. You're right there, mate. Calm down. In the first level, you just need to lure a sheep away using lettuces provided by Porky here. This block in the top right is sort of a danger indicator. If it's green, it means you're far enough away and Sam cannot see you. But if it's orange, you're in his vicinity and risk getting caught. But if it turns red, prepare to get roughed up.
Get it? Roughed up. Cause he's a dog. See? Yeah. Moving on.
You have to be careful crossing this bridge, as despite your scrawniness, only 1 character is allowed on a bridge at a time. Ultimately though, there's nothing too taxing here, which is a relief as it allows you to grow accustomed to the game's interface. You can view all obtainable Acme items in your inventory, as well as check out clues as to their potential uses. Each new level ups the intensity. For example, the next level teaches you how to remain hidden if you skulk around using a bush.
Isn't it a good job our sheepdog friend is practically blind?
One major drawback is that the hungry sheep will eat the bush if you're not careful, and you'll be exposed.
You naughty, naughty boy!
Once you've sneaked over the field, you have to use the lady sheep perfume and the fan to get some sexy sheep action. Level 3 teaches you how to use rocks to hide from Sam, which I personally find a little bit problematic. My reason being, you need to hold the R1 button to sneak, but the button to hide behind a rock is also R1, which can make it difficult to prise yourself away without snapping back to your hiding position. Since this is a relatively short review, I won't go into detail on every single level, but each level builds upon the last in some form. The more things you know how to use, the tougher the game gets. Interestingly, if you find the hidden time clocks in each level, you're rewarded with bonus points to unlock concept art and clues to access secret bonus levels, the first of which can be accessed through a secret wall. Initially, I found this level supremely frustrating. First, using the elastic, you need to lure the sleeping bull off a cliff.
That was a close shave.
After grabbing a bush to hide from Sam, you then need to lure the sheep away from Sam using the lettuce. Since sheep are inexplicably drawn to buttons, you can use this to your advantage. Luring the sheep onto the button will activate the platform. Then, using the elastic, you need to drop down and lure the sheep towards you again. The problem with this is that sometimes Ralph retrieves the lettuce instead of the sheep. No, the sheep, not the lettuce. Pick up the sheep.
No! Pick up the sheep, put the lettuce down! Do you know, I often wonder what my neighbours think I'm up to when I shout these things. No, not the lettuce! Put the lettuce down!
Considering how well made and difficult this game is, it genuinely makes me question who the target audience was. Most puzzles are logical and require some intense puzzle-solving forethought before putting your plan into action, while some are frankly bewildering. What makes it even more frustrating is that on some occasions the camera is a little distracting, which in a game that requires you to be fully aware of your surroundings is a slight drawback. This is pretty nitpicky of me though, admittedly. Fortunately, the majority of the game works perfectly well. It can be frustrating as hell sometimes, but it's kind of supposed to be. Level 6 introduces the metal detector, which I loathe with a passion, as you need to use it to cross a field of mines presumably planted by Sam. I'm always overly cautious with this device. If you take one small step out of line, you're toast. Once you reach the flock, you need to disguise yourself as a sheep to lure a real sheep away.
I guess you could say Ralph is a literal wolf in sheep's clothing.
Of course, carrying the sheep back across the field is another story. You have to rely on your own footprints to get back, which isn't as easy as it sounds. Damn it! It suffices to say I'd only recommend this game for those who have a great deal of patience. Level 7 sees you utilize a pretty complex system of geysers to navigate a wintry setting with the help of an umbrella. Yes, an umbrella. Careful not to fall in the water or, hold on everyone, this may take a while. It's a clever game alright, but some levels are painfully obscure. So obscure in fact that some levels involve time travel. Yes, time travel. What is it with all these Looney Tunes games and time travel?
Bugs and Taz travel through time to retrieve a vital component for a time machine. What's Ralph time traveling for? Sheep. This wolf sure knows his priorities.
Using a magical chronometer, you need to travel back to the past to rearrange the present. For example, planting a seed in the past will grow a tree in the present, and moving a boulder in the past will move the positions of the stationary hiding rocks in the present. After a frankly bizarre scene involving a dragon that's never once mentioned again, the final part of this level sees you having to lure Gossamer into the present to be chased by the bull, opening the path to the finishing circle. Accessing this level's door from the other side opens a second bonus level, the final time travel level. Clever stuff. While the main focus of the game is on Ralph and Sam, there are also a number of other Looney Tunes characters involved throughout. One level sees you having to navigate a swamp dressed like Bugs Bunny.
What's up, dog?
In this level, we have to avoid Elmer Fudd, as Daffy keeps switching the sign to read that it's rabbit season. Roasted duck, anybody? Once the duck is disposed of, use the robot to distract Sam, and then use the elastic to lift the sheep up to the finishing circle. It's logical, really.
Obviously. Do I have to explain everything around here? It's perfectly logical.
What I also like about this game is its continuity. The game gets progressively tougher as Sam Sheepdog wises up to your tricks. For example, one level sees you having to order and use a flute to lull him into a trance and lure him under a rock, giving you the opportunity to
pull the wool over his eyes. See what I did there?
But in the next level, Sam is prepared. Try to lull him into a trance again, and it turns out he's wearing earplugs. The scoundrel! So you'll have to think of something else. Level 10 also sees Gossamer return. These cannons shoot on sight, and it's your job to line up some pipes to hit the beehives in a certain order before using the honey to lure the bees to distract Sam. Did you get all that? But obtaining the sheep is the easy part.
Well, easier anyway.
We then find that our big red friend is back. You're right there, how you been? Presumably bitter about having been exposed to this bull, he then exposes you to this bull. This is genuinely one of the toughest boss levels I've ever played in a kid-friendly game. And it's not so much the execution that's the problem, it's knowing precisely how to beat him. The first time I played this, I'm ashamed to say I had to look up how to defeat him, which I almost never do.
Honest.
The only clues you're given is that he doesn't like light and is prone to dizziness. That's literally it.
You might say that the hints you're provided with are a little woolly.
Since Gossamer keeps jumping up and down, he's difficult to approach, but once you do,
Yeah?
you're supposed to run rings around him until he collapses.
Okay.
Then place the sheep on the button and rotate the wheel until the light comes on and scares him off.
What?
Look, I'm not explaining that again, mate. This is a kid's game. Come on, get a grip.
Well, now I feel sheepish.
Performing this 3 times forces Gossamer to become a bridge for you and your sheep. Seriously, how the hell were kids meant to figure that out? I'm all for challenging puzzle games, but that's insane! From this point onwards, the difficulty is amped up substantially. One level sees you having to carry a lettuce using a fishing rod dangled over ramparts, and then use a robot to get your sheep to the finishing circle. This level well and truly flummoxed me. You have to use the robot on a treadmill to get yourself and the sheep to the other side of the pit, but I couldn't figure out how to do so without the sheep getting distracted by a nearby button and falling into the abyss. But it turns out all I had to do was move faster. Nobody actually told me the robot can run.
Michael, you fucking idiot.
Probably the most surreal level involves a ghostly ritual. After making your way through a maze vacuuming up ghosts,
As you do.
you come across a holy sheep ceremony.
As you do.
And you need to use the ghost costume and dance like a ghost in order to pass yourself off as one of them.
That's the spirit.
I'm not sure what spirits they were drinking when they came up with this idea for a level. This can be exceedingly frustrating as you have to press the buttons at exactly the right moment or start over. Then, using the robot, you need to lure a sheep out of the pen. The ghosts then steal your sheep and begin to worship it on a pedestal. It's your job to skillfully switch it for a fake inflatable sheep and make off with the real one. It's not easy, but once you've passed the dance, it's pretty much plain sailing. And speaking of which, the next level sees us come face to face with Pirate Yosemite Sam. Just getting to the sheep in this level is a chore, as it sees you having to navigate another minefield, this time with the added challenge of moving a rock over the field too, without the footprints to help you. Procuring the sheep is also a headache, as you need to hide in a bush and deftly swap one sheep for an inflatable one. Once you've finally made your escape, however, Yosemite Sam proves to be an obstacle. The solution is to use a metal detector to retrieve some gold coins to lure him into the jail and trap him. Oddly, the finishing circle is not on the ground in this level, but in one of the ship's sails.
Sheep ahoy! I'm fast running out of sheep puns, you know.
Dealing with this kind of stuff definitely wasn't in my contract.
The final sheep I always found a strange one to obtain. From what I gather, the only surefire way of retrieving the sheep is with a sheep costume, which you can pick up from another area accessed by the train. After you manage to obtain the sheep, Sam does the worst thing imaginable and paces inside your circular goal. What the hell, man? It's your job to take out Sam using the catapult before quickly catapulting the sheep and your good self immediately afterwards. It's a little obscure, but surprisingly rather straightforward compared to previous levels.
Finally, we're finished.
Oh, but it's not over yet. As Marvin the Martian makes a surprise appearance.
Huh?
As it turns out, that sheep you shot out of a cannon drifted into space. Sheep in space! And it hit a water tank, causing Marvin's instant Martians to sprout and run amok. It's your job, obviously, to collect them all up again using a special vacuum-y thing.
I believe that's the technical term.
Avoiding anti-gravity fields, electric currents, and especially black holes, which is frustrating as hell. To reach the other side of this chasm, you need to guide yourself to the ground using the black holes, but being extra careful not to get too close to them or you'll be sucked in. Then you need to use another black hole to reach the Martian. Oops. Finally!
You cannot imagine my relief.
Oh my god, what?
Breathe. Breathe. I'm okay. I'm fine. Fine.
Anyway, if you find all the Martians, Marvin keeps his promise and returns you to Earth with the sheep. Ralph takes the sheep home, and if you place it in a lucky goal, it turns out it was Sam Sheepdog all along, somehow. The ending to this game is possibly one of the most underwhelming I've ever experienced, as it turns out it was all a dream. That Ralph was merely counting sheep all along, I guess.
Really? They're playing the dream card? After all that? Ever feel like you've been fleeced?
What more can I say about this game that I haven't already? At times it can indeed be extremely frustrating, but that was kind of the intention. It's a surprisingly difficult puzzle game in which a great deal of thought has been invested. Not only does it perfectly capture the look and feel of a Looney Tunes cartoon, but each level is unique and your Acme inventory inspired and creative. My only complaint is that maybe the difficulty is a little inconsistent at times. The Gossamer boss,
Or as I like to call it, Bossamer.
presents a major difficulty spike, for example. It's funny too, although more likely to leave you howling with frustration rather than laughter. It's definitely a game that's worth repeated playthroughs and far more than just a sheep thrill.